Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of Dech Teck. Today I want to go over my Boros equipment deck and what makes mine special, which, well, everyone has their own little thing that makes them special. Mine, I like to mix it up. These are the main commanders. I have partners. I should zoom in. We have a Kiri Line Slinger. Get a good lighting for this so you guys can read it. Of course, partners with Bruce Tarl. As one friend says, Bruce. Either way it works. Now, what makes this special is, you see these are in these like little frosted sleeves. I also have 3 other commanders. I have Arden, Intrepid Archaeologist. Give you guys a minute to read what he does. I also have one of my personal favorite, Kedis Emberclaw Familiar. Give you guys a minute to read what he does. I don't like reading to you guys, I like talking. You guys can read. And Rograk, son of Roga. That makes mine special, as you can see. Got clear, pink. Every game, when I want to be cheeky, pick one of the clear ones, pick one of the pink ones, and it randomizes which commander I'm running that game. Or commanders, I should say. There are, like, difficulty levels, depending on which ones I build, or which ones get picked. Like, if I really want to try to end the game, usually, like, Akiri and Kedis or Arden do pretty good. Rograk, I said Rogaw, is also alright. Bruce Tarl does pretty good. Like, if just these two, the original deck does a pretty good job on its own, but mixing and matching, they call it modal. Not sure what to call it, but I recommend my friends like just to mix up, have like a secondary command you can play with. It's not completely new, but I had a lot of fun with this. This is one of my decks I do that with. When we go through some other ones, I'll show you that as well. But I'll talk about that more as we go. But let's get to the cards. So it's equipment deck, so I got all the equipments here. Most of the equipments, I should say. Start out with all the swords. Really don't need too much of an introduction. It's more just showing you what swords I got. Kind of showing off my collection a bit. But these are the ones I always think about cutting, but never really do. They get a lot of work done, let's just say that. And this one's also very useful. Gives your commander, or whoever you're putting equipment on, indestructible. In addition to all the protections of these swords a lot. Got some newer cards in here too. Fiend Lash is a newer one that I, again, try to cut, but it's just useful. Does a lot of stuff with dealing damage to other players, or when it gets dealt damage. So give it indestructible, block something big. A couple other, like, not combos, but you'll see what I mean. One of my favorite cards in the deck, so much so that I actually got a little custom proxy token for it. Makes copies of itself, and I can tell you how many games I've won just by having this out early enough where it's getting a bunch of them out. Another little card. Got a nice little foil here. Not really much to say about the card itself, but gives you a lot of buffs on the front end. Got the square hammer here. Are you on the square? Are you on the level? As soon as I saw this card spoiled, I knew I had to get it. I don't have anything fancy for it yet because I have a feeling they're going to come out with something for it. I don't want to spend too much on a card that I'm going to replace eventually, but if I see it for the right price, I'll buy it. I think this deck, I should go back in history a little bit, started out as the Precon Nahiri one. And for a long time it was Nahiri, then I used Isamaru, then I used like 1 or 2 other ones, so I finally got the commander deck I have now. Now it might be like a different type of video for the future. But I don't know. But anyway, where was I going with that? This is one of the original cards. I think this might be one of the only cards left from that original deck because it's just a good equipment card. Hammer of Nazan, not sure how to pronounce that. Also really good. One of my personal favorites. Really hard because I like the, you can tell it's like a little bit of foil. Really can't stress enough how much I like Richard Kane Ferguson art. And when I got this, I'm like, well, this looks a lot nicer with the aesthetic of the rest of the deck, but man, I like that other art better than this. No offense to this guy, but That's probably one of my personal favorites. This one's Godsend. It's one that comes out of the woodwork once in a while. It's a good buff. Whenever you deal damage to a creature, it gets exiled. It gets killed. Don't quote me on that. And then opponents can't cast cards that have been exiled with it. So it's really good to you can blow up other players' commanders, and then they can't cast it anymore. Don't quote me on the original wording on this because I'm not 100%, but something along those lines. I always have to look it up too. But it's a great commander card. Just gonna throw out there and kind of go, yeah, it does that, and it's gonna suck. So maybe you don't block my guy. Just let me kill you. Again, newer card. Got the Surge foil. Doesn't really do too much crazy. I love the Menace edition there at the end. Did you guys read that? And the extra creature tokens are pretty good sometimes. I don't think I actually put the tokens there because I never get this one out for too long. Again, I know my cat's here saying hello. Another one of those cards I had to put in here because of that ridiculous buff and the ward ability. I can't stress enough that ward is a great ability. I like seeing it's a lot better than Hexproof or Shroud, where it has not completely broken, but it's enough to kind of protect your guys and not really shut the game down too hard. Well, I still want people to have fun while I'm beating their faces in with a bunch of sticks. Maul the Skyclaves, another card I try to cut all the time, but the flying and first strike just it does too much work in this deck. I should put these all in orders to have all these at once, but here we have another one that just buffs for each artifact or enchantment I control. Does a lot of work in a lot of games. Batterskull, sweet promo art. Again, one of the ones that gets on the chopping block when I have new cards I want to put in here, but can never really cut it because it's nice to have the living weapon ability, the Visions of Lifelink, the bouncing, what have it. I just can't get rid of it. It's just one of those pet cards I just like it, and I don't really have to justify too much. We have a non-basic land block ability. Again, with Commander, you're going to have a lot of dual lands and such. This puts in a lot of work. Umezawa's Jitta. Got autographed by the artist there. Can't really read the chunk there, but you can always look it up. Again, just a good utilitarian? I don't think that's the right word. Good utility card. Let's call it that, where it does enough stuff. It's won me a couple games just with bringing back that life total. Sword I forgot to mention. Good for seeking out basic lands. Again, just a really good card. I like putting this on a lot of decks, even if they're not equipment based, because it's a really good ability. Incentivizes you to attack as well. Another new card, Living Weapon as well, also indestructible. Gets a little bit of a word soup there. I'll let you guys read that. Some of these high mana costs you'll see too later. There's ways to cheat them in for cheaper and also equip without having to pay that. And that's usually where I end up shining, where I don't have to do that stuff. But I'll tell you what, there's been a few games where that hurts more than it helps. Masterwork of Ingenuity. And here's a copy of any equipment. I thought I have another artifact that does that too. We'll look at that when we get there. I saved this one for last. I really like this card. I really want to I used to have Sword of Dungeons and Dragons in here too, but that's one where people bellyache too much. So this is one they can't because it's actually legal in Commander. Just a fun little card. Let you guys read that. If you don't play this card in your equipment deck, I suggest putting it in there because it's just I don't know. I love playing that card. So next we have, look at these cards over here, so I'll knock them over. Our artifact pile. Everyone's favorite, Chromatic Lantern. A couple mana artifacts I think I have in a row. Cane Signet, Sol Ring, Soul Talisman, that's a spend cost. Boros Signet, Talisman of Conviction, Mox Opal, Mox Amber, and everyone's favorite, Mana Crypt. Those are my mana rocks. You can see I have some pricier ones in there. Like I said, this is one of my older decks, one of my favorite decks. I can't help but have a decent mana base for this because I don't have to justify my spending to you guys at home. I'm sure you got expensive cards too. But eventually I'm going to proxy more of these out because at the end of the day I'd rather have more decks. Doesn't matter. I play for fun mostly. This is a card that usually gets on the chopping block that I haven't cut yet. Keeping my artifacts indestructible. I don't really mind a board wipe or two. This deck wins enough games where I don't mind losing that often. But Blink Moth Urn adds a good amount of mana depending on what equipment I have. Helps them re-equip stuff. Mirrorwork's also a fun card when you're playing equipment. Pay 2, make another token of it. And, this is the other one I was talking about. Makes a copy of another artifact. Got the newer art here, just like that sketchbook art. It's like if I want something really, really broken, I can use this in the Masterworks of Ingenuity to copy something really good and hopefully win. Up next, I got creatures. I think one of the biggest things I end up cutting from this deck when I get new weird artifacts is the creatures, which at the end of the day, I have my commander, so I'm not really too worried about what equipment to, but gotta have some good stuff on here, right? Leonarn Shikari. You got a Carrier Fearless Voyager. One of the newer cards that I really like in this. There's a newer Nahiri I really want to put in this deck because the 4 red white has affinity for equipments. Hasn't made the cut yet, which probably after I upload this video I'll probably end up cutting that Darksteel Citadel. What's that one called? I literally just looked at it and I'm drawing a blank. Darksteel Forge. That might end up being the final cut needed for that. In fact, as I say that, I'm just going to put that off to the side. I'm going to switch that out after this video. Will I ever do update videos? I guess I could sometime. Go like, here's this deck again. I've changed like half of it. I don't know. But I figure you guys got enough time to read that one. Array of Master Smith. You got Pure Steel Paladin. Again, like I was talking about. Helps make my equip cost a lot less. Same thing with this guy. Is he foil? He's a little foil. Got a cool SRAM Senior Edificer. Got Leonin Bunus. Danitha Compassion Paragon. Got a Santiana Ship's Caretaker. Another card I just can never cut. I just love this card. The art, the foiling. Finally got it signed by the artist. Got to talk about the art. Might be a conversation for another time, but it's one of those cards I can never get rid of. Just holds close, near and dear to my heart. I don't have to justify nothing. Shimmer Mirror. Another of my favorite cards. This is this card. If I do another like Spotlight, maybe I'll do this card because holy moly, this card. The art is great. Love the foiling on it, but the ability. I'll let you guys read that it's indestructible. When its stealth damage deals that much damage to target opponent. I can't tell you how many times it's just like people don't really know what that means, and I just bash somebody in the face for a ton of damage because they're trying to mess me up. They attack me with their commander or something, and don't realize he's on the field, and I block, or even better, if I can't block, that little ability comes in handy too. They go to attack, I can activate them, and just smack them in the face. I love this card. Got Zerta the Dawnwaker. There's another one. I think I actually got a new art for this from the new reprint. But I really like this one too. Good ability. If I had more of the rules there, I could actually play it as a companion, but haven't quite made that kind of cuts yet, but someday maybe. Maybe I'll retool it like that. Liberator Urza's Battlethopter. Really excited for this card. Added it. When I have it out, it doesn't do as much as I'd like it to do because it just hasn't been running the way I need it to really take advantage of the ability, but it survives so far. Not as much as this guy does. 7/7 for 4. He doesn't untap, but I'm going to cast a lot of these guys, a lot of artifacts. He can untap whenever I need him to. Etch Champion should come as no surprise. Only reason I would ever cut this guy is because of the colored. Don't look yet. The colored mana does end up hurting more with some of this equipment having colored mana. Kind of sucks that at some point in the game I forget and people get mad. And look, sometimes I forget to read the cards, but that might end up being a cut someday if there's a better version of that. And then come to one of our final creatures. It kind of segues into the next thing I'm going to talk about with the sorceries. Got Aurelia. She's great late game, extra combat phases, and like I said, we'll talk about in a little bit. It was one of those cards I added when I started making this more of a competitive deck rather than casual. I don't know. Just a great card I don't have to justify. So I have two sorceries, and I think I got like new printings of this card, but this old art makes me think of Headlopper. Really great comic series if you haven't checked it out. Extra Comments is the name of the game. So I have two of these, two versions of this kind of card, and I think Enchantment coming up too, if I'm not mistaken. But Extra Combats, I love it. This is one of those things where people that know me, I don't normally play this type of deck, this type of aggressive deck, but sometimes I want to win. Nothing wrong with that. Again, on the enchantments, again we're talking about extra ways to reduce the combat. I'm starting my words now. Equip costs. This is one of the big ones. Got our extra turn here. It has a little extra turns on the stick with aggravated assault. Really great card. A little way to keep my artifacts safe. One of those cards every once in a while makes the chopping block, but I never cut because that's just a great ability to have. And I'm pretty sure it's the only aura I have in this deck. Again, probably should have put in that pile I was talking about earlier where it just pumps up your guys, adds a bunch of stuff. A lot of good games I've won with this one. That's all I have to say about that. We go on to utility lands. I'm pretty sure this is what this pile is. Got Buried Ruin. Bring some stuff back. Still your Stronghold. I just wanted an excuse to buy this art, just to have this in this deck. It's a really useful card. I don't use it too much. You got a white mana source, but makes little tokens. Sometimes I don't have enough guys to put equipment on. It's a nice way to get that out there. Ancient Tomb and Temple of the False God. I had a video about this. I'm not a big fan of this card. God knows I don't like it that much, but this deck needs a colorless mana, and more often than not, I am able to get that, but I prefer an Ancient Tomb over a Temple of the False God, even if it does damage. Rogue's Passage needs no introduction. Getting my guy in there to smack you in the face. And on the card I had not too long ago, Cathedral War. Exalt is cool. This one might get cut if I get a new type of land to put in here, because it comes in tapped. That's the big downer for that one. But sometimes that extra 1 damage can do a lot of work. I'm just skipping ahead here. This is the mana lands. Got my token placeholder for Needle Verge Pathway and Pillar Verge Pathway. I like using those cards. A lot of people, because you can't really see through these sleeves, but one of my biggest pet peeves is when I'm actually winning for once, people start to complain about me cheating in some way, shape, or form with that kind of stuff. And I don't like doing that. Got these guys. A good old-fashioned command tower signed by the artist. Rustfell Bridge. Got a Plateau, the OG. Well, it's revised, but still. Got Alpine Meadow. Temple of Triumph. Spectator Seating. Sundown Pass with little schmutz on there. Fury Calm Snarl. Sacred Foundry. Secret Lair. Speaking of Secret Lair, Battlefield Forge. I was looking at the top for the name. I couldn't remember where it was. Kind of hard to see. This is that one with the sticker on the front. I couldn't help it. I had to peel it off. So, of course, it goes into this deck. And Arid Mace. I got a nice etched foil for that. I think at this point, if you haven't noticed, there's only one search effect in my deck. This is one of those decks that does so well. I limit myself. I can put a lot of cards in here to search out artifacts and enchantments. I don't do it. It does so well on its own. I don't like to slow the game down. And last but not least, we have our basics. Got a couple different arts for the planes. Just went through. Found cool full art planes I like. And then I just fell in love with this mountain, so that's all the mountains there. That's pretty much it. Like I was saying, I don't like the search I like being able to randomize it. Makes it more exciting, because I do pretty good with this deck. I think I've won more with this deck than in my actual straight up competitive decks, because I think it just sneaks up on people. You're not paying attention to how many artifacts I'm putting on the battlefield until it's too late. But I like the little more randomization of it, where you don't, streamline the game a little more. The Arid Mace is in there because the mana fixing needs a little bit of work in this deck, but maybe I can cut down on the duels that don't do much, but heck, I like it. I had fun with it, and back to what we said at the beginning. That's probably my favorite part about this deck, the randomization of this. Oh, get out of there, Needle Version. I'll put that in the wrong pile. No matter what, I'm going to pick one of these ones, the red-white, and one of the other randoms. And like I said, it makes a more fun interaction. Like, I don't call it modal, but mix it up. I'll talk about this some more with some of my other decks that I do this with. I think I have another bigger black deck that, no pun intended, I do that with. It's a lot of fun. So, hope I gave you some ideas. Hope you enjoy. Allow me to kind of brag about my decks a little bit, and comment down below what's your favorite Boros commander card, commander deck, what have you. Give my channel a little more interaction. Until next time, just remember, Mommy and Daddy love you, and I love you. Bye.